and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jessica Freck. I'm the Technical Content Manager here at Mozenda. Today's webinar is special because we have some people joining us who aren't familiar with web data harvesting, or maybe they're not sure what it does yet, while some of you guys are currently using a web data harvesting tool. So while I'll give everyone a minute to jump online, I'm going to introduce Caleb, the Professional Services Director here at Mozenda. He's the one that's going to be leading your webinar today. Don't forget as well to send in your questions, and at the end we'll have Caleb answer them for you guys. So yeah, I'll let Caleb take it from here.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making time to touch base and learn a little bit about how Mozenda can help you in your web data strategies. We're going to review a few items today, but first I'd like to provide a little bit of introduction to myself and my role here within Mozenda. So I've been here for about 6.5 years. During that time, I've had the opportunity to work on both the licensing side of the business, where we help our clients with our software, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been running the professional services side of our business. I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of different clients, with each having a unique perspective of what they're trying to do, each of them having their own application of Mozenda, their own competitive strategies that they're looking to use web data for, to leverage it to help them with key insights for business critical decisions. The conversation today is really about that. It's about how Mozenda can help you in your role in your data strategies. The content of the discussion really comes from having spoken to many different clients, having gone and met with them in person, and getting some consistent feedback and questions with respect to how should I think about data as it relates to our business decisions. How are clients using Mozenda to be successful, and really where do I get started? And that's kind of going to be the baseline for today's discussion. We want you to understand that we recognize that every client's application for data is unique, and we don't try to fit you into a specific box. Rather, we invite you to describe what it is you're trying to accomplish so that we can help you understand how we can play a role in your success. We also understand that most of what our clients are using the data for is confidential or proprietary, and so we don't speak to a lot of specifics about how what data is being collected or exactly how it is being applied. Rather, we'll speak kind of higher level about the consistencies in the client's approaches, and we'll share that to hopefully kind of spark some interest and some thoughts into how you can start using data to be more competitive and inform your decisions. The first component is taking time to clearly define the problem statement ahead of going and getting data. Kind of the easy button is to just simply go and start gathering data. You know what data exists, or you have a feeling of what data exists, and rather than taking a minute to pause and define why it is that you want to go get the data, or what problem it is that you can solve by getting the data, lots of clients have the tendency to just start gathering. We would encourage you to take a step back and to clearly define what the problem is, how the data is going to help you solve that problem, and to really start with the end in mind. As you start with the end in mind, your efforts will get focused. You'll be able to establish checkpoints along the way that will give you direction on whether or not you're on the right path with the data points that you're collecting, and whether or not you're getting closer to your desired outcome. I'd also encourage you to communicate your problem statement to us as we're speaking with you, as we can better understand what your problem statement is during the engagement process. We can help form the strategy, help provide relevant feedback and guidance along the way to help you optimize your web data strategies. Also, we'd encourage you to not get stuck inside of a box thinking your problem statement is only about the web data itself. An example of this might be the problem statement is, we know the data is accessible, however, we are spending too much time gathering it. We have clients in the management and financial consulting space that recognize that to be their problem statement, and rather than continuing to pursue the strategy of how they could use a software solution, they rather define the problem statement with how to engage with a service provider that can provide them data. So that problem statement can be the actual web data itself. It could be resource strategies into how to get the data as well. There are always going to be many people involved in the data projects. We encourage you to get those players involved early on. The quicker that they are involved in the discussions about how you're going to be using the data, the more informed the strategies can be. This can be as simple as what file format you want the data to be in, CSV, TSV, XML, or JSON, to what publishing method is going to be most receptive to your existing systems, your existing protocols, whether you would prefer to receive the data in an FTP format or publishing method, Amazon S3, Microsoft Azure, Dropbox, Google Drive, or maybe through our REST API. The more hands you can get on board with those that are tasked with gathering the data, those that will be giving the insights, to even those that will be presenting the outcome of the data to a management team, the more likely you are to avoid frustrations along the way, or delays that could have been avoided had the team members been on board earlier. Examples of this might be that the individual or individuals that are tasked with working with the data might have preferred a date and a time to be separated into two separate formats. But because they weren't involved in understanding the data schema or communicating that data schema, it wasn't structured in a way that was going to be compatible for them, and so they weren't able to receive the data, make it actionable, and therefore unnecessary frustration was realized. Also, no matter how much work you do in advance, you'll still want to start with just a sample. I encourage you to not try to bite off the whole project at once. No matter how good you are at putting in your methodologies and practices for what you're going to do with the output of the data, it's always easier to work with a smaller output to test those theories, to test your ingestion process, to test that workflow, the data schema, before you bite off the entire production project. In most cases, during this sample output, you'll be able to see any adjustments that need to be made to the data itself and account for these adjustments ahead of doing the production run. This will save you time, it will save you money, it will create a friendlier environment internally within your organization with removing some of the frustrations that might be realized downstream that could have been avoided had you had a sample of the data. It's important to remember that the internet is a very dynamic database. The data source is moving and changing constantly. So really, web data extraction becomes a snapshot in time of what the website was at that moment. So you don't want to waste your moment by doing production runs that are not representative of production data that you can use. When thinking of how you can use the web-based data extraction, I would invite you to think big. There really is no end to the application of web-based data for your internal needs. It can be used to supplement data that you already have in-house. It can be used to really for any insights that you're needing to gain, and for many different departments inside of your organization. These are just a few of the examples of different ways that you can apply web data extraction that might live inside of one of your organizations or your departments, or it might be cross-department, and you'll realize some great opportunities to collaborate with different departments within your organization as you all work together for the betterment of your company. Though the application of Mozenda is unique to every client, today we're going to kind of summarize things into 3 general project types. We find that that the majority of projects in one way or another can be fit into these 3 project types, and that's where we'll kind of focus the rest of today's discussion. The first use case is what we'll kind of lump into the location data bucket. When it comes to location data, understanding your competitive landscape is essential. Whether you're looking for potential sales prospects, evaluating an opportunity for growth, or doing an overall industry assessment, Mozenda can provide you with a great efficiency in providing accurate data for these decisions. Really, this can take a few different shapes. You might be scraping directly from websites that utilize a store finder functionality to get a comprehensive and current list of physical locations. Many of these websites will be set up in a way that require a dynamic interaction with a drop-down box to select a state and or country or city combination in order to execute a call on that site and get resulting data. Mozenda can automate any of those interactions on the website to be able to iterate through those dynamic combinations and pull back all of the comprehensive results, providing you a very clear snapshot of all of the available locations that meet those geographic needs. Additionally, it might require an input list of cities or zip codes. Mozenda can be used with a dynamic list of inputs where you can upload it into the system and iterate through those. I'd invite you to take time to view a customer testimonial we have on our website from AMSOIL if you haven't seen that before, where they speak about how Mozenda is used to give them confidence that they're providing customers with the most accurate database of where their customers can purchase their products. They're able to leverage Mozenda to do routine scrapes of their geographical areas to understand when there are new mechanic shops or car parts stores, anyone that would sell oil that are now within their geographic service area, and that becomes a pool for sales prospects to be able to go and sell into them. Additionally, as they keep adding more current information with locations, phone numbers, addresses, and emails through these types of web data practices, they're able to host that on their site, providing the most current and up-to-date database for their customers to have confidence that they're finding the most convenient location to them for their purchasing decisions. Outside of the specific websites where you're using a store finder or other location finding strategies, you might also want to consider larger sites, aggregator sites like Yelp, Yellow Pages, or similar niche aggregator types that exist within really any industry that you work. There are typically going to be, whether it's an organization or some sort of a group where they have aggregated information about companies within your industry. Mozenda can be an excellent tool to leverage those larger databases to get more industry or keyword types of combinations. Think of a strategy where you might want to understand what the market footprint is for car washes within specific geographic areas to identify market saturation or growth or expansion opportunities. This is a place where you would use Mozenda to iterate through a list of keywords or industries on one of these aggregator sites, iterate through city-state combinations or zip code combinations, and pull back all of the results from these sites to be able to get a clear understanding and clear view of what the competitive landscape looks like, where the potential risks are, and where the opportunities lie. This is a very common application when clients are evaluating potential acquisition opportunities or growth expansion. They leverage these types of sites to really have greater confidence in their decision that where they're looking or what industry or potential acquiring target they're looking at really does have the market footprint that they need or expect, and does have kind of the saturation that would lead to a sound decision. Product data becomes the most common application of Mozenda and really the most versatile in the different ways that it can be applied. As you think of which side of the equation you're on, whether you're a retailer, a manufacturer, a distributor, a single point of a single seller, or maybe you sell on a large marketplace like an Amazon, gathering the most current, up-to-date product data is something that everybody is looking to do. A website becomes a single point or single endpoint that really pulls in data from many different silos. As many of us know, as weird as it might seem, data actually inside of organizations is very regular that it lives in different points. The product specification data might live in one data silo, while the images in another, the reviews yet in another, and pricing in a price optimization tool. And the website becomes an endpoint where all of those data points come into one single place that it's rendered and one common layout where it can be extracted from. There are in fact many clients who scrape their own website because they know that this is the place where they can get the most up-to-date and current information, and it becomes much easier than trying to pull the data from these individual data silos. Retailers oftentimes come to us and express frustration that their manufacturers or distributors do not have current specifications or current product images that they can provide them in a convenient way to be able to upload them onto their websites. This is a frustration since they're ultimately trying to push this manufacturer's product and sell more of it in a mutually beneficial relationship. However, manufacturers have been hesitant to create those types of outputs, and rather they focus on making it so that their website has the most current data. This is a place where you can leverage a web data extraction tool to extract the data from the manufacturer's website, giving you confidence that you're using the best, most up-to-date product images, user manuals, specification tables, etc., rather than having to be concerned that what you're using may be out of date. Another place might be if you are a manufacturer yourself, you might want to use this to ensure that compliance that your retailers and distributors are in fact using the most current images that you may house in a place where they can go get them and push them out on their website. And you could use a tool like Mozenda to be able to give you confidence in that your retailers and your distributors are in fact being compliant by scraping their site and then comparing that data back to your internal databases. Also, as a distributor, you might be wanting to monitor pricing and understand where you are from a competitive landscape. This kind of works in two ways. If I'm a manufacturer, I could use Mozenda to get greater confidence in enforcing my MAP pricing policies. And if I'm a retailer, it can help me get more confidence that I'm being competitive and offering the greatest pricing possible. When you are starting a product project, this is a project type where it is very critical to understand what problem it is you're looking to solve. This will inform you whether you're looking to what type of data, product data you're looking to collect, and give you make sure that you're going to the proper depth on a website to get the required data fields. When discussing product data projects, oftentimes we'll lump them into two different groups. One is more the product assortment type of initiative, where you're trying to understand how many products a competitor might sell or a website might sell in different categories. And you're not as concerned about the makeup of those individual SKUs as you are how many are inside of each of the different buckets. This is a project that wouldn't require you to get into the product data itself. Rather, you would iterate through the different category and subcategory levels to get down to a list of products per category to satisfy the product assortment objectives. Another project might require you to load into the product itself in order to get the relevant data to inform your decisions. An example that I'd use here is a client that, two different clients, both scraping data from Target.com with two different initiatives. The first, that was more concerned about product assortment, would treat a specific shirt style as the end unit that they were concerned about. So that shirt style, regardless of color, size, or whatever, would represent a unit of 1, and they just need to account for that as a unit of 1. So there would be no need to get to the product page and no need to understand any more details other than where that product lived inside of the category hierarchy. Client number 2 may also be concerned about scraping data from Target.com and may want data about that exact same shirt. However, the data points they need to be able to solve the problem that is in front of them would require loading that specific shirt style and selecting each of the available color size combinations, ultimately treating that one product in their data output as potentially 5, 10, 15, or 20 different lines of data, with each line of data representing a shirt style, color, and size combination. Neither of these is right or wrong. Rather, I use it as an example of how it is that you want to think about the data output you require to solve the problem that you've established. You'll want to make sure that you build the structure in a way that whatever you're getting as your output can in fact be a qualified input to the models that you've put in place so that you get closer to solving these problems that are in front of you. Customer sentiment and review information is critical in today's environment. The internet is the established forum for customers to voice their feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Therefore, staying on top of what your customers are saying is an essential practice in today's climate. One client in the household and commercial appliances industry came to us with the problem statement that their customers were no longer providing product feedback through established processes that had been put in place to get information directly back to them as a manufacturer. Rather, with the internet, now all of these individuals were going straight to the website where they purchased the product, or potentially forums where these products were being discussed. The original processes allowed for feedback to be channeled and be channeled back through the company and provided the product engineers, the quality department, they gave them the opportunity to evaluate the feedback in a controlled environment and hopefully make adjustments ahead of the masses being aware of these problems and circumventing kind of the mass concern or issues that would arise. Additionally, this provided opportunities for a customer service department to interface with the clients and satisfy their concerns with potentially replacement products, discounts, or any other measures that would limit the exposure of the issues that were being discussed or experienced by the clients. With the real-time feedback via product sites, forums, and social media, there's no longer a possible grace period for problem resolution. Rather, scraping and analyzing reviews on a very regular basis is the new norm and provides all members of the company, whether they're in customer service, engineering, QA, PR, or into management, gives them the insights into potential issues and can help establish priorities within your company. Another example of how you might monitor customer sentiment or feedback is with a new product release. You might establish different hashtags or keywords that would be of interest on Twitter, for example, and monitor the activity on a day-to-day basis around those keywords or around those hashtags to be able to get a feeling for where the dialogue is going, whether it be positive or whether it be negative. This is all information that can be done or extracted from the internet, processes that can be automated. Additionally, when talking about review data, there's two different levels that you would want to consider. One is kind of the higher level of looking at the average product rating and number of reviews that a product might have, where the issue you're trying to understand is to assess the velocity and overall product sentiment from a quantitative perspective, rather, and extracting the next project might require extracting the actual review content to be able to then do further text sentiment analysis. It doesn't, once again, no right or wrong, rather bringing both of these up to help you understand what is possible and which of these would satisfy answering the question and solving the problem that you've established. Our experience is that many departments within your organization have overlapping challenges where web data can be part of the solution. As one department implements these strategies and begins to share their insights and they speak of the improvements realized, others within the company start to take notice. It provides an opportunity for you to become a hero within your company as you talk about how web data extraction has helped you in satisfying the problem statements that you've encountered. It provides a great opportunity for cross-department collaboration, as oftentimes the data that you're collecting could also be very worthwhile to another department. Think of web data collection as a supplementing practice to the data that you already house, the sales data, the customer feedback that you're already gathering, and all the other relevant data points that you have in-house. Mozenda and any web data extraction strategy becomes a supplementation to that so that you have greater confidence, that you have a more clear picture of all the relevant data points that should be used in assessing and making decisions. With Mozenda specifically, we take the approach of being very versatile to fit your needs. No matter where you are in starting your data extraction strategies, we have a solution to help you. The three primary ways to interact with us and engage with Mozenda is, number one, through being a software licensee and a desktop app that's used to create your web data scripts. We call them agents. This allows you an opportunity to have access to a world-class support department and training department, access to our data center that can give you scaling infrastructure to be able to do data projects of any shape or size. It also provides a cost-friendly structure that can scale with you. As your needs increase, you can simply increase the volume of data that you're processing. Other needs might require an on-premise software license, and we have that solution as well, where you can actually install an instance of Mozenda on your own infrastructure and be able to use your servers. And this might be because of privacy reasons, or it could be other reasons as well, but most commonly it's because of HIPAA requirements or other types of requirements where having an instance on your own, within your own firewall, is required. The third engagement practice is through our professional services department, where we can work with you to define your project strategies and put together a plan of how we can become more of a data solution rather than a software solution, providing you an output that matches your desired needs in an automated fashion without any interface with the technology itself. We'd like to see if there are any questions before we kind of close things up today. Jessica, are there any questions that we can address? We have a question with respect to what data can Mozenda actually collect? The best way to think of what Mozenda does is to think of it through the lens of automating what otherwise is a manual task. So if there's any process that's being done today that is a manual interaction with a website, we can automate that interaction so it can be used for process automation. So in the event you're thinking of how you have a team of individuals that are doing a very repetitive task day in and day out that could be automated, freeing those resources up for greater added value rather than data-driven processes, Mozenda could be used for that type of a practice. The data points that we can collect are anything that is visually that you can see visually on the website or is available within the HTML. There are oftentimes that data points that are of interest that are available in the HTML if you know where to look and how to direct the software to those locations. You can you leverage Mozenda to, once again, collect anything that's visibly on the website or available in the HTML itself. The other question we have is it only US-based websites that you can collect data from? The answer is no. With Mozenda, you can access data from any website, anywhere that you can have a internet connection. Then we can originate a request to that website and extract the data from the site. We're looking at the HTML of the site, so where it's originated from or where it's housed is not a concern. Additionally, we do have features built into our tool that if it's required to originate the request from that country where the website is housed, we can do that as well. So we can either originate the request from the U.S. data center to the international website, or you can use services that would, within our tool, that would geo-target the site and originate the request from those specific websites. We do have one other question. Let me kind of read this here for a second. The question is around if a price is listed as an image rather than in the HTML itself as a data element, if there's a workaround to getting pricing in this situation. In most cases, if it's an image, that would not be a possibility, whereas there isn't an actual element to extract. It'd be similar to trying to pull out, only the eye of the picture of a face, which you couldn't necessarily do with a data extraction tool. I would encourage you to send examples of the site into our support department, or I'll provide you with a couple email addresses here at the end of the types of sites you're talking about and the products, and I'd be happy to look into that to see if there's any creative measures that could be used to extract those data points. Sometimes it might be in like the alt tag of an image, so it's not in the image itself, but maybe the alt tag of that image describes what the image is. So that could be an example. But once again, I'd encourage you to send the examples into the emails that I'll provide you here in just a minute, and we'd be happy to take a look at those for you. Thank you for providing those questions. That's all the questions that we have today. Really, what I would encourage you to do is start somewhere. Oftentimes, people get hung up with thinking that they can't do, they can't start with the project until they fully defined everything, and they want to start with the full biggest project possible. I would encourage you to think of it differently, to think of a smaller way to put a proof of concept together, something that can be small and controlled, and that you can really determine the output of that and put it through your internal process to determine the impact of it. And start smaller and then scale rather than trying to start really big. Our experience is that really the majority of clients that do not have a successful experience in implementing web data strategies are those that start really, really big with huge visions right from the get-go, and it's simply hard to get to that point without starting with the first step. So simply take a step is the invitation that I would extend to you. If you're interested in evaluating the software, we have a free 30-day trial. Go to our website, email sales@mozenda.com, and let us get you started on a free 30-day trial of Mozenda. If you have any projects or any questions that you'd like me to evaluate, please email me directly. My email is here at the bottom of the slide, caleb.mangum@mozenda.com, and I'd be happy to take any of the questions that you have. Really, feel free to throw projects against the wall and see if they stick. You don't know unless you try, and we wouldn't know if it will work unless we have an opportunity to discuss feasibility. So please take us up on that invitation and see how we can help you get started.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'd love your feedback on how this webinar went, or if there's any other future topics that you'd like to see covered during our webinars. You can just email the webinar@mozenda.com email, and I'll absolutely see that. I'll send everyone the AMSOIL use case that Caleb was mentioning earlier. We do have it on our YouTube page, but I'll just make sure that everyone gets it following this webinar. And then if you're new to this and don't know where to start, like Caleb said, like we do have a free 30-day trial that you can sign up for, and you can talk to someone about how to use that to best serve you. And that also comes with free customer support as well. But that's it for now. I'll send this video out to you guys, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks. Bye.